Hi, this is Katapult for Katapult Gaming. A couple of weeks ago, the Hypixel Skyblock admins released a new Garden Pests update. Not only does this bring a lot of vermins for us to hunt, but it also brought 2 new tiers of medals to the farming contests. You're no longer confined to the bronze, silver, and gold medals. You can now also obtain platinum and diamond medals. In today's episode, I will walk you through my farm layouts and farming patterns, and all the farms shown today have been tested to consistently provide diamond medals, and as you can see here in Anita, I've managed to obtain all of the diamond medals. And as always, you can /visit TheKatapult to visit both my island for some free cakes or my garden to see the farm layouts. And talking about the layouts, what was my criteria when building it? I had a couple in mind. First of all, they had to be infinite farms, so by the time you get level 15 garden level, all of these farms will be fully infinite and you can harvest them over and over again with no issues. Secondly, they had to be efficient enough to give consistent diamond medals. They also had to be single layer so that you can easily access the pests as they appear. And finally, they had to be easy enough to harvest for hours at a time while watching YouTube, but still require you to be active, because the admins have been very clear that they don't want to see semi-AFK farms. I know there's some other layouts out there that will be semi-AFK and might be tempting for that, but the admins have been very clear that they will do everything in their power to get people to farm actively, up to and including adding vermin to our farms. So the quicker that everybody converts to using active or mostly active farms at least, this is going to make the admins very happy, and it's going to make it a lot easier for updates in the future. So a few of the important concepts, and I'll be talking about some of these mods over here. So you'll see this one here from Skyhandy gives you the blocks per second, and basically in the Hypixel Skyblock they have the server set up for 20 TPS, and basically means that you can break up to 20 blocks per second. There's 20 updates per second that are going on in any farm or server that you're on, and so you cannot harvest more than 20 blocks per second. So as I'm farming, I try to get as close to that ideal number as possible. Now lag is going to play a difference, and if you have a not ideal setup, then you can definitely get a lot worse than that too. But as long as you have the right speed, the right angle, and the right design of the farm, you should be able to get very close to the 20 blocks per second. You know, anywhere between 19, 19.5 or above is quite good, and should be sufficient to help you get the diamond medals pretty easily. And the other number you'll hear me talk about is the yaw, which is the direction that you're facing. And this one is from the mod Not Enough Updates, and it's a good mod also to give you some farming information. The rest of the mods, basically they all come from one or the other of these, and they're not very important in what we're going to be talking about today, but I will do a separate video talking specifically about mods for farming. And when it comes time to harvesting the sugarcane, I try to get the yaw at, depending on the angle, either 45 degrees or 135, plus or minus in either one. It really depends on the direction your farm is going. And normally I would slow down the speed of my mouse to be able to stay at that speed. Now some people will even go all the way to changing their spacebar button to be the harvest instead of the jump. Personally, I just changed the DPI of my mouse to 100 so that it lets you adjust the yaw just in micro increments, but you're still actively playing just as you normally would. And the main goal here is to get close to the 20 blocks per second as you can get, and I found for that going at 250 speed based on my lag is really quite good. and will give you very easy, consistent diamond medals as long as you have the level and the rest of the gear to support that. The next layout that I will show is the carrots, but it's exactly the same layout as with the potatoes and the wheat. So I'm only going to show you the carrots for this one. But basically I use 8 crops wide and then a separator, and this has water again under these light blocks. And as I farm this one, again, I'm going to use either between 240 or 250 speed. Gonna go roughly at a 45-degree angle, give or take a little bit. And normally I kind of wing it by eye, and I'll see if I'm going in the right direction or not. If I start going a little bit too much to the left or right, I'll just adjust as I go. Not really paying attention to the yaw as opposed to when I was doing the sugarcane. And again, we can see the blocks per second is very high up there, and this will be a farm that makes it very easy to obtain a diamond medal for, again, whether you're doing carrots or potatoes or wheat. All of these layouts are really good for that. The big thing that you have to practice, and as I'm speaking, I'm doing it a little bit slower than if I were in a competition. And when you get near the end of a lane, you're going to have to practice changing angles quickly, and that way you don't lose time once you get at the end of the lane. So the smoother and the quicker you can do that transition, you can just keep farming non-stop, and that way you get a better score at the end of the event. And over here I have my potato field and my wheat field, and again, these are basically identical to the carrot fields, and you can harvest them exactly the same way as we already shown with the carrots. With the cocoa chopper, because I have 3 cocoa beans high over here, we're going to have to adjust our speed, and basically I go with about 170 speed is normally the speed that I'll go to, and you go roughly at 45 degrees and you just move forward, and we're going to see at that speed that again the blocks per second is going to go quite high, very close to the 20 blocks per second, and that way you know that you're about as efficient as you can be, and it's just a matter of lasting the whole event and you're going to get your diamond medal without too much issues. So you can see here we're at 18.6 and still climbing, so this should get all the way into the mid to high 90s without too much problem. And we're gonna go see, we're getting already at the 19 mark, and as we keep farming it's still increasing all the way till your blocks per second reaches a really nice stable number after maybe a minute of this, because I think it takes the average of the last minute of farming that you've been doing. So the next crop we have is the cacti, and you'll see these ones you need quite a lot more because you're going to be flying at a very fast speed for these. And I put them in groups of 4, as you can see here, and we'll do 2 on the side going in one direction and then 2 on the other side as we come back. And the tricky part for this one is the optimal speed is 464. And if you take your boots and you try to adjust them to 464, you'll see that they cap out at 400. Now the way that you can get around that for now, and I don't know if this is something that will always work or if they will fix it at one point, but if you equip a black cat and you can change your boots to 464 and equip them, you'll see that your speed, if you go over here, is 464. And as you go and change to a different pet, from cow over here, we'll see that even after that my speed is still 464, and we can see the boots are still capped at that speed. So this is how you can obtain a faster speed. Now the black cat is definitely not a cheap pet, especially if you're going to get a level 100 one. Probably don't need quite that much to get the 464 speed, but if you're very serious on getting all of the diamond medals, unfortunately, this is one of the more affordable ways to be able to do that. And then you're going to see on top of the screen here, again, we're very close to that 20 blocks per second. Now the tricky part over here is when you get to the end, because of the speed you're going and all that, it's very critical that you time your transitions very well. As I'm talking in video, kind of distracted with what I'm saying at the same time as playing, so my transitions are a lot sloppier and a lot slower than they normally would be. But basically, this is how you can do that. And when I look at the yaw, I try to get it very close to, in my case, it's 180 degrees is what I'm aiming for. So I try to go just to the other direction of it as I can. So right now, as I'm going over to the right, so we can see the numbers that are there. So I went that way, and then when I go this direction, I go very close to 0 without passing 0. Because if I were to go and turn the camera a bit more to the left, we'll see that I'll start bumping into the cacti. So I want to move it just a little bit to the right, so that way I'm always going forward and not bumping into anything. Now you could try to get the perfect angle, but I find that it's not necessary. And if you have to slow down your mouse movement or something to be able to get the precision and stay at the right yaw, I find that it's probably not worth it, that you're going to be losing too much time in your transitions at the end. And that way I'd rather just get the angle more or less correct, but then be able to more easily transition at the end of each row. The next two are going to be very similar, so between the melons and pumpkins, it's basically the same design, and we're going to farm both of them the same way. Now, a big difference that I've done compared to a lot of others is I leave this pat clear over here. And the reason is I like to farm kind of like this. And by having the pat clear, we'll see that I can overcrank my speed a little bit, which gets me a lot closer to the 20 blocks per second. But if I do miss some either pumpkins or melons along the way, you'll see that it doesn't really cause an issue, because if I were to farm right in the middle here, I'd be bumping into them all the time. But by farming from the side, that doesn't cause me any issues like that, so I can just continue farming and not have to worry about overcranking my speed and getting slowed down by some melons that are still stuck in the way. And that way, it gives you more melons and pumpkins per hour compared to if you had blocks on top here and a narrow lane for you to farm in. And the next two are very similar, where we have the netherwort, which is groups of 4 over here, and you have the mushrooms, which are groups of 5. And basically you have your 4 mushrooms that you're going to harvest, the same as you would with the netherworts. And then the 5th row is just the mushrooms that you're leaving behind and are going to help repopulate the rest of the mushrooms. And basically over in this one, start over here, and with a speed of 116, just try to go normally somewhere between the -140 and -150 yaw. I found it doesn't really matter a whole lot which one exactly that I go to, but I get very close to 20 blocks per second maximum that you can harvest, so this is a really good method to harvest. And when you do the mushroom, basically the same thing here, still at 116 speed, and still going kind of in the same grouping of angles over there. And basically, if you want to see if your angle is right, you kind of look on top here, and you see I was kind of lazy with my angle here, and I was leaving some of the mushrooms behind. So you kind of just change your angle here, and you try to get it as close as you can to the 20 blocks per second. And that way you can see when I was like this, basically now my angle was a lot better. and the few that are left behind is because I'm kind of over cranking the speed a little bit. So maybe if I had like 112 speed, you wouldn't leave any behind. But I find again that over cranking the speed a little bit will help you get as close to the 20 blocks per second as you can get, even as you're lagging a little bit. So in future videos, I'll be going over the pets, the gear, the skills, and everything else that you need to know on how to get the diamond medals. But this first video, I wanted to focus especially on the layouts. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please leave them in the comment box. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.